Assalamualaikum and good day. Our group consists of 3 members. We are myself, Zuhaira Bita Ahmad, together with Siti Nur Shazana and Muhammad Fidaus. Today we from group 3 will be presenting of the topic Arhimedes principle and buoyancy. For introduction, where an object is placed in a flow same as water, it experiment as a wave force, known as the Buoyancy force, whereas opposite to gravity and make the project effect lighter. According to Archimedes' principle, that buoyancy force action on an object is equal to the weight of the flow displayed by the object. We heard at object floats and seen depend on the balance between this buoyancy and the object when, which is dependent by the distance density of the object related to the floor. This experiment aims to verify as Archimedes' principle and to understand how mass, volume, and density influence the floater and sticky of the object in a float.
Okay, so for objective for this lab, we have two objectives, and the first one is to measure the beyond force on submerged object and relate it to the weight of this displaced fluid. And the second one is to determine the density of a solid object using the concept of buoyancy.
Apparatus and equipment, electron balance, spring balance or force meter, object, one regular, one irregular, string, thermometer optional, beaker or overflow cap plus measuring cylinder, tray for speed. Experiment produce. Method 1. The mass of the object was measuring and record using the electronic balance kg. Method 2. The object was attached to the spring balance and the force in air was measuring and record. Method 3. The object was then fully lowered into the water, touching the slide of the container, and the force in water was measuring and record. This step was repeated 2 and 3 times. Method 4. The overflow can was used to collect the displaced water, and the volume of the displaced water was measured directly.
Okay, so for the result sections, this table shows the data collected for two types of object, which are the irregular object and the regular object. For irregular object, the mass record is 0.108 kg. The force in air is 1.08, while the force in water is 0.42. Okay, so for the volume of water displaced is 31. Okay, next we will move to the regular object. The mass is higher at 0.500 kg. The force in air is 5.00 and the force in water is 0.58. The volume of water displaced is 53.
For the next slide is a discussion. Based on the experiment, Archimedes' principle show the way the project is immersed in water. He experiment as a wet buoyancy force equal to the weight of the displaced water, as indicated by the difference between the force in air and in water. For the second, for the data, the buoyancy force calculate for the difference between FA and F water is April is majority equal to the weight of the displaced water. Seperti Archimedes principle, we mirror experimental error. For 3, using the display water value and the mass of the object, the density of the solid object was determined using P equal M per V depends showing different density volume for the regular and irregular objects. And the second part, the result show the object with density greater the water tend to sink. Will objects with lower density flow and as the boil for depend on the amount of your display relevant to the object weight.
Okay, so for conclusions, the experiment successfully verified Archimedes' principle, where the Buoyancy force acting on a submerged object is equal to the weight of displaced water. This was shown by the difference between the force in air and the force in water. The Buoyancy force measured increased with the volume of water displaced, proving the relationship between Buoyancy force and displaced fluid as stated in the principle. Okay, so for density, the density of the solid object was successfully determined using buoyancy measurements, where objects with higher density experience a smaller buoyancy effects relative to their weight. So for overall, the objective of measuring buoyancy force and determining the density of solid object using the concept of buoyancy were achieved.